thousands of people across the country do, especially people that have dealt with her in a one-on-one setting, a small group, or with great big corporate presentations. She's good at all of them. She's an expert when it comes to traumatic incidents, stress management, conflict resolution, and she's going to help us here a little bit in some difficulties that maybe some of you as parents have, and you might not even be aware of it yet. Let's bring her on to the Newsmaker line. Veronica Sites. Veronica, hello. Welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So, Veronica, I have often read your articles and things said by you and about you, and have always been intrigued by them. But today we come across this article about teens and their texting codes and their ability with their phones, that sometimes even if the parents are in the room, maybe even looking right at the screen as the kid types, has absolutely no idea what it is that they are doing. Are kids getting better and better, and parents becoming more and more clueless about what it is that's really being done with texting today?
Both. Yes to both.
Okay.
Kids are very creative. It's an adaptive code. It's changing constantly because those parents that do have the communication with their kids do pass the information on to other parents, which then the kids adapt and make other changes. But the compromise that they're making to themselves is really jeopardizing confidence, self-esteem, and also their sense of security because of risks involved of not keeping communication open with the primary caregiver, their adult or parent.
We know some people get involved in texting to the point of sexting, and we've heard all about that all the way up to and including people like Anthony Weiner. This is maybe not always even that with teenagers, but it's borderline, isn't it, where they could actually be getting involved with some activity. It seems to me, Veronica, a lot of kids could get involved in this by sending some of these texts and some of these little acronyms that they use just because they're kind of cutesy, but then they might get sucked into something and they're into it before they even realize it.
It's flirting through technology is what it is. They are doing things because it's the lingo, it's the genre of their generation. But what they're doing and in using that code is they're beginning to lure. It's the same thing, back in the day of, their parents or grandparents, you had to glance across the room where it was a flirtatious thing. Well, now it's online. You can't see who's on the other end, and therefore there are some risk factors that parents have to be aware and have those communication lines open with their kids.
Well, and awareness is not just, okay, I see my kid texting, I'm in the same room with my kid, so I'm in control of what's going on. That's not always the case. In order to be truly aware, Veronica, is it a little bit on the parent to make sure they educate themselves properly to know exactly what it is their kid is saying and not saying while they're texting?
Absolutely. Don't forget the parental role. I mean, it's a privilege for the young person to have a phone. And oftentimes parents, out of respect, or, we would say in quote, respect, to give the kid their privacy, they give them way too much and are afraid. The parents are afraid to ask, what does that mean? For two reasons. One, they may not want to know. And I remember one of my teenage kids asking me, Mom, don't ask the question unless you're ready for the answer. And I had to brace myself, realizing that, I have to be the adult. And for the parents, we've got to have the courage enough to be the anchor of security for their teenager or their kids. I mean, because this isn't just teenagers and young adults. These are little kids that get lured into doing things that they don't even know they're putting themselves at risk at times. It's a universal language with among adolescents. It's not just teens. So when a young child is engaging with somebody they don't know on the other end of the internet, they can be dealing with a predator, and then unfortunately those things can lead to very detrimental outcomes.
Sometimes we have safeguards in things like Facebook where they say you have to be a certain age to be on Facebook, but there are a myriad of ways to get around that and to get on there. And parents say, well, I don't want a child that's too young on Facebook because they'll only be dealing with people, that they could be dealing with people that they don't know, or people that are out there trying to scour for young people. But on a phone, they don't seem to sense the same danger because they think they're only texting to people that they genuinely know, and through different connections and people who know people, and hey, I got your number from your friend, they could be texting with somebody that could be just as obscure as somebody on Facebook.
Absolutely, and the phone does represent a false sense of security in the sense of it has become such a natural for the young person to carry their phone that when any risk factors are brought up, oftentimes it's like, I have my phone, I can call 911. Well, the danger of that is if they have locators on their phone and they're texting with, in this code that is sexting, then if they're not careful to know that they can be tracked down to a location if they have escalated, or not them escalated, but have drawn such attention to the person on the other end, that could be a predator. And I work with a lot of officers that are those accounts online to help bring awareness for the safety of the children and the adolescents and to educate parents. So you don't know who's on the other end of it, but it is on the parent to really talk to your children. Don't be afraid to ask the questions and ask them for the definitions of those things. And if you're not satisfied with the answer, get the sexting code that you think it is and ask another parent, because somebody in your sphere of influence, one, ought to know, but also ought to be proactive about, being the adult providing the security for those adolescents.
We see these new things advertised on TV where you can snap this into your young driver's car, and if they drive outside of a perimeter you set, it alarms you. If they drive faster than the speed limit you set, it tells you. If they're not where they're supposed to be, for example, during school hours, it lets you know. Isn't there some technology that's available that will allow parents to know what texts are being sent and received to their kid's phone?
There are some out there, but it's a little bit, it's not as cutting edge as the kids are plastic in their adapting. So, they're going to figure out a way to get around, the codes and the stuff and things of that nature, in the same way that using the technology isn't as advanced as, unfortunately, our kids are clever.
What is? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, because many times they're the ones coming up with the hacks.
Yeah, exactly right.
Apps. Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you this in closing, and again, I appreciate you being on with us, Veronica Sites, who is a great motivational speaker. She helps a lot, whether it's a one-on-one or all the way up to a very large corporate setting, helping people with times of difficulty or times of decision. She's just a great person to help facilitate getting to the next stage of life and getting there in a better way. At the end of the day, Veronica, isn't a problem here mainly that age-old problem between parents and kids? I don't want to horn in on my kid's life too much, because more than being their parent, I'm trying to be their buddy and I'm trying to be their friend. And normally that doesn't work out to the benefit for either side.
It's exactly right. I mean, parenting, be the parent first, they'll be your friends later, because time and again, what teens do, whether it is through texting, sexting, or crossing those boundaries, oftentimes they will actually come out and say, I wish somebody would, just hold up to what they're saying. So if no means no, stick to it. It's not easy being a parent, but your kid will respect you and appreciate you more if you follow through with what they expect as a sense of security.
Wow.
Not to do that compromises their confidence and self-esteem.
Yeah, I like what you said. Be the parent first. They'll be your friend later on, and probably even a better friend. Veronica Sites, who is terrific at dealing with people, again, in very small settings and very large. Thanks again for making time for us on this Friday. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Veronica Sites.